So, hi! Welcome to today's video where I'm going to show you how to make these cool face masks like this one that I'm showing you right now in the bottom of the frame instead of the middle of the frame because I'm really bad at this. First things first, we need a pattern. This is the pattern right here. I spent a very long time trying to get this pattern set up on my grid back there. You'll notice that this grid is a 1 inch by 1 inch grid, so you can look at it and look at the pattern. Eventually we'll get to the point, but essentially, you just need a bunch of these same pieces, and I only have them separate, so it's just a little bit easier for me to understand, and I get the correct pieces no matter what, because I am easily confused. Just look at that, beautiful pattern. So here's the pattern all laid out here on my grid, so you can see exactly what you need. You're gonna need 2 of each of these pieces. It's very, very simple. You're going to want to take a nice cool marker. This is my favorite one to use. It's a light purple Sharpie, and trace around the edge of the pattern. This pattern accounts for a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Then you'll end up with a bunch of pieces like that. But you'll need 4 of those pieces actually. You need section 1, so you do that. Perfect. Now we have all of our pieces. They're even matched up. We have part A and part B, which is what those 2 pieces were for. So you're going to want to take your pattern pieces that you have cut out. You'll have your pins now is what you'll need. So you'll take one part A piece like the one that I'm showing you right now, and one part B piece like the one that I will eventually show you right there, and you'll take it, and eventually we'll get to the part where I take the pattern pieces and put them right sides together and match up the topmost corners. It's really simple. I did a really bad job filming this, but eventually you'll get around to taking your pen. Oh wait, I am incorrect. Actually, we need to take my other pattern piece that I use and trace that seam allowance so you actually know where it is. You'll want to do it on both sides, but you're going to want to pin on the seam allowance, which is why I mark it, but you don't really have to. You just want to make sure that your pieces are the same size and you pin them evenly. So you'll take your pen, and if you do it like me, then you'll stab one piece of fabric straight through that top corner there, and then take your other piece of fabric and stab straight through the same top corner out of the camera focus because of course. Then you're going to line up your fabric together and make sure that you go through the lines evenly so that their pieces of fabric will match up. You're going to do this over and over again until your line is perfectly straight, and then by the end of it you'll have your pins like that so that you can actually sew over them because you need to do that. So we will do that again and stitch it down, and it's beautiful, and then we have that. It's all stitched down and we don't have a problem. Then we should do it twice, actually, so we'll end up with 2 of these pieces. They look exactly the same. That is very important. We want them to be the same. But now we're going to have a scene change. We're not ever going to come back to this desk in this video. Scene changes are important while we're making the coronavirus mask because you're going to want to see the actual sewing portion eventually, right? Which is why we're going to the sewing machine, you know. So you take one piece and you'll flip it around because we don't want to see those nasty seams. You don't need the nasty seams. Those aren't very nice. And once you have it flipped around, you're going to focus your camera so that you can actually tell what's going on. I can't see anymore. There we go, we're back. It's beautiful, it's all flipped around. You can tell it's starting to take on that mask shape. You're going to take your other piece and not flip it around. This goes right on inside. This is so that it's lined and we won't have any seams and it will be more comfortable on the face. So now our plan is to pin this together. You pin it first at the middle seam. I'm trying to show you that, but it refuses to focus. It will eventually focus, maybe. There is a possibility. I had a lot of fighting with the focus. But then you'll pin it all the way around with that seam allowance. I'm showing you that right now. It's very beautiful. It takes forever to focus, but you'll pin it all the way around and then you get to sew. So I think that I'm going to let you guys listen to this sewing ASMR for just a little bit and I'll come back later.
What does that mean? Why is it so meta? Why is it so real world? What does that mean? It sounds like a funeral bar.
So I forgot that I was listening to Markiplier there in the background, but I guess you get to hear that now. Anyways, when you finish with that, we're left with this seam here on the bottom, which we want to do the same thing to. We'll pin in the middle and then sew it down. I spent a really long time pinning it, but, you know, it is the way it is. It's really not that difficult to pin down. I think I'll let you listen now.
So yes, I can't stress this enough. If anything comes through those doors, hide. Just hide. Don't look at anything that appears in your room and try to stay safe. Please.
Do I have to stay here all night? What about my children? What about my husband?
It's very hard to explain, ma'am, and no, just wait until 6 a.m. to be safe. But don't worry, I will pass much transfers. Keep an eye on the clock and wait for that time.
I don't understand. What is even happening? How do you know all of this stuff? How do you know my husband's name? We never said his name. How do you know? Michael?
Okay, great. You know what it means by hide? Let's go in a hide here! It's a big empty room. Where am I gonna go? Slide under the bookshelf? I'm gonna slip under the couch! File myself away.
So now we will have cleaned up both of these raw edges, but we still have these edges here on the side. So we're just going to take those and fold them inside of themselves so that we don't have to look at them. It's basically the exact same concept of what we were just doing, except it looks funnier because we're funneling it. It really takes a lot of struggling here for me. I really don't know why I struggle so much with this whole folding inside thing. Also, I'm really starting to think that maybe when I'm sewing and doing videos about things, I should listen with my headphones so that you don't have to do this. But anyways, so then we get to do the cool sewing thing. We're just going to run a stitch very quickly over this side. It's just a cool little running stitch. Now my sewing machine is really cool, except that it doesn't really want to go over those things. So I have to do it in 2 stitches so as not to snap my needle, because I like my needles and don't want to have to replace them every day. But anyways, by the end of it, we get to do it again. What we're going to do is fold over the mask and mark with our marker from earlier here so that we can try and get these edges as even as possible. Mine are just a little bit lopsided, but they're handmade, so what can you do? Then we're going to fold it over again because, of course, we're going to fold it over again. That is just how it's going to be, and then we will pop it under the sewing machine and sew because we have to sew them both down. It is important. It's really not that complicated. There's a lot of repeated steps in making these masks, and they do sort of take a while, but I think that they're quality, so whatever. Anyways, when you're done, we have all of these very clean edges. There are no seams really to deal with. They're all not going to be all that bothersome. I'm trying to show off, but I'm not very good at it yet. Anyways, then we get to leave. And when we come back, we have our edges pinned down because we're going to make some cool channels in which we're going to put some elastic. Which means that we get to hand sew now because I learned the felling stitch from Bernadette Banner and I love it. And the felling stitch cannot be replicated by a machine. And the reason we're doing the felling stitch, which is what I am trying desperately to show you right now, is because I don't want the seams to show on the outside of this mask. And the felling stitch is really cool because it only goes through 1 layer of fabric. So on the side that you're seeing right now, there would be the seam, except it's fairly well hidden because the stitches are small. But on the other side, you won't be able to see the seam because my stitches are only going through the 1 layer of this 2-layer piece of fabric, which I think is really cool. So now we get to watch for a very long time as I felling stitch. This time you don't get to listen to me felling stitch, but I will leave the music in the background so you can just listen to some nice music while I hand sew the stitch, and I will be back with you shortly. And now that we have returned, I'm showing off my beautiful stitch here without the pin. You can see that you really can't see the stitches. I mean, they're sort of obvious because I'm not the best hand seamstress, but you can't really see them, so we leave and we come back and boom, we have the other side done. That simple through the editing magic. So, we're all done now with the actual mask portion. The next portion is really fun. We're going to take some elastic here, real stretchy elastic. We want to measure out about 2 lengths of this channel here, a little bit longer so that it has just a little bit of slack to it. We know it's stretchy, but we want to go in here anyways. So you take your elastic, we need 2 of them equal size, and we also need this safety pin. We'll thread the elastic through the end of the safety pin here. Then we'll take the safety pin and insert it into our channel. And using the safety pin, we can do this caterpillar motion like I'm doing here, and eventually the safety pin will come out the other side along with your elastic, which you have threaded through the thing. So you'll just pull that sucker on out, and you'll have your elastic threaded. Easy. You tie a knot, slip the knot quickly into your channel, and bam, you have some beautiful elastic. It's very wonderful. So then you get to show it off apparently for way too long and do it to the other side, which is really simple. When you come back, you have both pieces threaded and a finished mask. And that's how you make a coronavirus mask. Now I know that these masks aren't going to do much to protect you from the actual virus, but I'm making them a surgical mask for our hospitals because they need them. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a nice